Frank Fulop. He's a member of our church. And Frank, how about you introduce yourself to people who might not have met you yet?
Okay. I've been a member of this church, I think, roughly, I came in just before Pastor John started here, and I'm not sure what year that was, but I've been a Christian all my life. I was brought up in a Catholic family, and when I was about 48 years of age, I went overseas with my mother. She was 75 at the time, I think, and she asked me whether I'd go with her to see her family one last time, which I did. But anyway, to cut the story short, on the last day, we went to Corrie ten Boom House in Haarlem. Have you guys heard of Corrie ten Boom?
No.
No, she was a famous Dutch evangelist, world known. She published many books. She was a survivor of Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany.
Oh, wow.
During the Second World War.
Wow.
And my mother gave me one of her books that was called The Hiding Place. And The Hiding Place really touched me, and it was one of the turning points for me to come to know God and to seek more of Him, you know. I was brought up as a Catholic. I went to church every Sunday. It was just a process of going through the motions more than anything else. I didn't have a relationship with God, and I felt just that change. And I tell people, they get a little bit upset with me, that God called me out of the Catholic Church. But I went to, my dad suggested, why don't you just try Hughes Baptist Church? They're pretty good there. So I went there for 4 years, and they were very good. They're very strong on the word. But we got I could make it longer, but I won't. I got to meet Ratner at a home service once, and he invited me to come along to this church, which I did. And I really liked it here because it was not only strong on the Word of God, but it was also Spirit-led,
Right.
which is important.
Yes.
So I've been here ever since. And I was one of the newbies when I started, but now I'm one of the oldies, I think, because I've seen over that time quite a few people leave the church. My time in the workforce, I started off as a draftsman, a cartographic draftsman, making maps. I did that for about 8 years, but I didn't really enjoy it. And in the end, I left and I applied for a job with the Australian Taxation Office. Yeah. And I stayed there 36 years. And I quite liked it. I was mainly in the area of marketing communications. And that's quite interesting. I got to know also a fair bit about the operations of the tax office and the tax system in a variety of different jobs. In 2014, I retired, and I've been retired since, of course. I have a wife, Rhonda, and daughter, Julia. In terms of my how do I keep myself occupied, one of my pastimes many years ago, for about 25 years, I used to race pigeons, long-distance racing here in Canberra.
Really?
Up to 1,000, 1,100 kilometres. I did very well at it. I was quite successful, but I left that activity in 1996, and not long after that, we bought a few acres at Braidwood. Yeah. And very close to the township, and we spent a little bit of time out there, not too much. I don't want it to become an idol and to get, to take over my life, but I do enjoy it, and we have quite a few connect groups from our church, and other family groups come and enjoy it with us over a barbecue. They usually spend the whole day. Ross Rose Connect Group is actually coming down for a December gathering, nice. With the whole Connect Group and a few others. We usually invite a few others as well, so that's always looked forward to by many. But we're running some beef cattle there. It's a lifestyle farm. It's not a livelihood farm, if I could call it that.
Yeah.
So that's one of our interests. But I'm also involved in other things as far as church things go, serving the Lord. Up until I got crook, I'd been involved with the Gideons.
Nice.
Through Jono mainly, initially.
Yeah.
And there was another fellow in this church, he's since left, and he and I would go out distributing Bibles and witnessing on the streets,
Yeah, nice.
particularly around here. And I really wanted to continue with that and sharing the Word of God and not just handing out Bibles to people like that, but, witnessing. And I can't do that anymore because
we'll get into it.
what's happened. But anyway, I was involved in the St Vincent de Paul Society for 30 years as a volunteer worker, not just helping on their door knock appeals, but as a volunteer 2 or 3 nights a week visiting half a dozen families or more in that week, distributing food and other things, arranging furniture vouchers, clothing vouchers, vouchers to Coles, that sort of thing, and other things. But anyway, I've been involved in different charitable works like that over the years.
Awesome.
But I feel like I want to serve the Lord in a different sort of way. My heart is more for seeing people saved.
Come on.
For the Lord. That's where I've got to be. But they're all nice things to do. We need to have them done.
Yeah.
But not at the expense of seeing people come to the Lord.
Yeah.
So
that's what gets me. Like when I hear someone who's like just come to faith. That story, like I was interviewing one of our youth leaders who only got saved like 2.5 years ago. I was interviewing him for youth, like our online youth program, and he made me choke up because that's the thing for me as well. Like, witnessing to people and then seeing them come to a point of realization, and that's what gets me going.
yeah.
It's good, man. Now, obviously, we're talking about Jesus as the great physician. We're talking about healing. And you've got a story about your ear, but it goes back further than that. There's more context to that. How about you share some of that story with us?
Go back to the beginning of that?
Yeah, go back to the start, yeah.
Okay. In early 2017, I noticed that there was a bit of a lump on the side of my neck. I actually thought it was a spider bite from a spider at the farm because I went like that one day and it was around about the same time, so I sort of put it down to the spider, but it wasn't in fact the spider at all. So a few months later I went to the, it wasn't hurting, it wasn't sore or anything. I went to the my GP and he arranged for me to have a scan done and very quickly got back to me to say that he was quite blunt about it. He said it's cancer.
Wow.
So he thought it was actually prostate cancer manifesting itself somehow in the neck. It's weird, I know.
I didn't get that.
Yeah. Anyway, in the end, I had surgery to remove that cancer. And then I had to go in a second time to remove one on this side. It was only a tiny little lump that I could just feel by rubbing the skin like that. And my specialist said that it was extremely aggressive cancer, and the treatment was very intense. It was quite a hard time. The surgeries weren't all that bad. I didn't mind them so much. It was more the treatment, the chemotherapy, not so much the chemo, but more the radiation.
Yeah.
radiation is pretty intense. I had 33 daily doses. You don't feel anything when you're going through that treatment. It's just afterwards that you notice the side effects and the weakness in your body, the fatigue and the tiredness and the lack of strength. And, well, the other thing too was the ongoing nausea for 9 months. But anyway, after that nausea was controlled, I went, as part of the process of having your treatment, you've got to have regular checkups with your specialist, with the radiation oncologist, and a few others in the chain. And when I went to see my specialist, I told him, because what was happening, I was losing hearing in my right ear, it was sort of coming on and off. And when I had to go and see him as part of a checkup, he had a look at it and he said, there's infection in your ear. And he also said that the skin or the flesh around the ear bone has been burnt off by the radiation.
Wow.
So anyway, he gave me antibiotics to fix up the infection in the ear, and then things just settled down.
Yeah.
But he said to me, with the ear bone, the blood vessels in the ear bone are burnt away, the flesh around the bone is burnt away, and sometime down the track you're going to lose your hearing permanently. He said there's no surgery, no hearing aid, no cochlear implant or any of those sort of things is going to make any difference. With these doctors, sometimes they only feed you bits and pieces along the way. They don't want to alarm you. They want to try and give some hope, although it's hard to sometimes see hope in what they say. But anyway, during this time, along this journey, I know God has always been there. I remember a couple of verses that Alan gave me. Alan came and visited me in the hospital, and Pastor John, a few others, and it was one verse, it went something like this from the New Living Translation. As God directs our steps, we don't have to understand everything along the way, you know? Because what you're thinking through all these sorts of things is, why me? You know, why did it happen to me? Ratner warned me, he said, don't go there, it's dangerous. And he was right, so I just left it up to the Lord. And just continued on with my regular checkups. But, you know, it just sort of plays on you. It's hard to say, I've got to focus on the Lord and not the circumstance or not the problem. But your body keeps on reminding you of the problem. And that's what, it's hard to get away from that. So getting back to the my specialist, with that finding of the condition of the ear bone, he said to me, I want you to come and see me every 3 months to have that ear cleaned out. Because what happens is that not only the earwax, but there's some sort of pussy substance mixes up with it and clogs the canal a bit or clogs the area there somewhere. And so I've been doing that ever since. Anyway, the last time I went there was early August, and he had a doctor with him who was learning, and before he came in to see me, she cleaned out my ear as part of her training. She did a great job. Anyway, when she'd finished doing that work, it doesn't take long, it's like a little scraper thing and a mini vacuum cleaner to suck it all out. Anyway, he came in and he had a look himself, and he was absolutely amazed. He said to the other doctor, did you know that there's skin or flesh growing back on that ear bone? He says, I'm excited about this.
Wow.
And during the course of the visit, he said it about 3 times. And He's more excited than I was. I'm trying to take all this in, and
So this is skin and flesh that has been burnt away by radiation.
yeah, absolutely,
Wow.
yeah,
And it's growing back.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Even when you have radiation, it's like getting a bad sunburn,
Yeah.
and they give you a special cream to apply each day around the exposed areas of the face and neck. So you can imagine inside the sort of damage it does. It's not only external, well, of course it's internal, but yeah, so it just burnt it away completely. And I did, there was questions I wanted to ask him about it, which I'll ask him next time, but I didn't. I was, I was just trying to come to terms with it all. As I said, he was more excited than me. But I always, through this, I'm always thinking God's in complete control.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
I just leave it in God's hands. And then he said to me, this is a miracle. I said, yeah. He said, after all, you're the miracle man. Because 12 months earlier, he told me that he never expected me to live that long.
Wow.
They never said that at the beginning.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to tell you that at the beginning.
No, he said, I never expected you to live this long.
Wow.
So that's why he calls me the miracle man.
You were saying that you've actually, in this journey of, cancer and the after effects of radiation with your ear and all of that, in this journey of healing, you've learnt so much more about yourself and there's been so many benefits. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. There were so many other nights. I didn't want to forget any, so I've jotted them down as dot points so that I can just read them out because they're worthwhile sharing. Sometimes, as I said before, we can just focus on the healing, but we don't focus on all the other things. They're not little things, but they're important things. And I'm sure many others who have been on a journey of whatever sort experience the same things, or some of them anyway. But anyway, I'm more thankful and more grateful in every circumstance. Sometimes my wife says to me, you don't have to say thank you all the time, for all the little things she does. And we might think it's a little thing, but to me it's a big thing. I'm more aware of how precious life is.
Yeah.
It really is. At the previous church I went to, Hughes Baptist, the pastor there used to say, we know today, but we don't know tomorrow. I'm more compassionate, more understanding of people's situations. I'm more emotional and I can't explain why. Every day is a good gift, not to be taken for granted. I'm more aware of what is important and what is not, when to hold and when to fold, which battles to fight, which things to let go of.
Yeah.
I take time to smell the roses. I go for a walk each morning, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, and all that time is spent in prayer, praising, thanking God, and putting up prayer requests with thanksgiving and praise and petitions, all those things. I really look at and marvel at God's creation. And it's a beautiful time of the year, the spring, with the changing of the colours, the changing of the seasons, and only God can do that. So I'm always thanking Him for His goodness. And it's been a time of spiritual growth, a time of drawing closer to God. Sometimes we just take, a situation for granted, but the good things, but God's providing all those good things to us. And it's so important to acknowledge those. The Bible says, let us not forget all His benefits.
Yeah.
The healing's wonderful. Salvation is wonderful. That's a miracle.
Come on.
Birth of a child is a miracle.
Yeah.
There's so many miracles in our life, but we can sort of bypass them and think, oh no, that's just it. It happens. But it's not. And God's hand is on us, and He knows everything that's happening in our lives.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love hearing your story, and then also your reflections on what you've learnt, from your journey thus far. like it's not just about Jesus healing us physically, although he does and he can.
Yeah.
And we've seen, your doctor call it a miracle himself.
Yeah.
But then it's also the change that he's made in your heart in just your gratitude and appreciation for just his daily miracles.
Yeah.
And just, in the way that you treat people and your compassion, and that he's done a work on you physically, and he's continuing. I'm believing that he's continually working on you physically, but he's also transformed your heart. And you said yourself, you've been growing in your spiritual maturity more. I just think that's such a beautiful thing, Frank. That's beautiful. Yeah. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to say?
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our church family and others for their prayers and support during this difficult time. I've really appreciated it. Sometimes we just don't understand how valuable that is, and I'm truly grateful. As I said before, when I go on my prayer walks, I'm always thinking of entering his courts with thanksgiving and praise.
Yeah.
So important. So, I want to thank all of our church family. There'll be many that don't know me, but there are many that do. And as I say, I've been here a fair while now, and I appreciate all the support that myself and my family get in along this journey. So it's wonderful.
Wow, fantastic. Well, Frank, thank you for coming on midweek this month, and we'll see you in church online.
Yeah.